fallen in pleasant places. The story begins with Eliab, a 32-year-old man who has known nothing but struggle. Born into a poor family, abandoned by his father, and raised by a sickly mother, he grows up believing that life is a constant storm. Despite his efforts, every door seems to close in his face. Betrayed by friends, rejected by employers, and ridiculed by society, Eliab begins to doubt if God even sees him. One night, after losing his job as a construction worker, he sits on a deserted street, staring at the city lights, questioning his existence. "Lord, am I cursed? Was I born to suffer?" His voice is raw with pain. As Eliab walks home, an old man named Nathaniel stops him. His eyes burn with wisdom, and his voice carries an eerie authority. "Young man, why do you speak as if your story is finished?" Nathaniel asks. Eliab sighs. "I have nothing left. My life is a wasteland." The old man smiles. "Then it is time for God to plant something new." He hands Eliab a small, ancient-looking scroll. "Read this when you are alone." That night, in his tiny rented room, Eliab unrolls the scroll and reads, "The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance." Psalm 16:6. A strange warmth fills his chest, but he dismisses it. Days later, Eliab is offered a risky job at a warehouse known for shady dealings. The money is good, and desperation tempts him, but the words from the scroll echo in his mind. He refuses. The rejection costs him his last savings, and he is evicted. With nowhere to go, he sleeps in an abandoned building. That night, he dreams of a vast land filled with treasure, but he stands outside its gates. A voice whispers, "Step into the inheritance prepared for you." The next morning, Eliab wanders the streets, hungry and weary. He sees a woman struggling with heavy groceries. Without thinking, he rushes to help. The woman, Naomi, is moved by his kindness and invites him to her home for a meal. As they talk, Naomi learns of Eliab's struggles. "My husband owns a construction company," she says. "He's been looking for trustworthy workers." Eliab is stunned. "Why would you help me?" She smiles. "Because I know what it means to struggle, and because I believe in divine appointments." Naomi introduces Eliab to her husband, Daniel, who gives him a job. Eliab works harder than anyone, gaining Daniel's trust. Within months, he is promoted, earning more than he ever dreamed. One evening, Daniel tells Eliab, "You remind me of myself when I was lost, but God never abandons his own." Tears well in Eliab's eyes. "I thought my life was over." Daniel smiles. "Your boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places." 1 year later, Eliab is no longer the broken man he once was. He has a stable income, a home, and even love. He and Naomi's sister, Hannah, have grown close. One day, an old, frail man arrives at the construction site. It's Nathaniel. "You have walked the path of faith, my son." He hands Eliab another scroll. Eliab unrolls it and gasps. It's a property deed, a piece of land in his name. "I don't understand," Eliab whispers. Nathaniel smiles. "Years ago, a man left this land to the one who would prove faithful. God chose you." Eliab falls to his knees, overcome with emotion. He now sees that God had been leading him all along. Eliab stands on his new land, tears streaming down his face. The words from the scroll echo in his heart. "The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance." He looks up and whispers, "Thank you, Lord. My story wasn't over after all."